Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday season. There's just something magical about this time of year, this sense of wonder and togetherness. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today. We're going to be looking at the many diverse ways that people all around the world celebrate Christmas.
It really is remarkable how a holiday observed by so many can have so many different forms and expressions, really reflecting both that kind of universal spirit of the season, but also, those unique cultural differences.
Absolutely. And we've been taking a look at this really cool blog post. It's called Unique Ways Christmas is Celebrated Around the World.
Yeah.
And it's been so eye-opening.
Yeah, the blog does a really great job of reminding us that for many people, Christmas is, well, it's a celebration that's deeply rooted in faith.
Right. At the heart of it, we have the Christian celebration of Jesus Christ's birth, a story that symbolizes hope and love for millions around the world.
And we see this reflected in some traditions that might be pretty familiar to a lot of us, like nativity scenes, those depictions of the birth of Jesus, and also, of course, midnight mass.
And then there's the big guy, the one who seems to capture the imagination of, well, pretty much every kid on the planet, Santa Claus. It's pretty amazing to think that this jolly gift giver is actually inspired by a real person.
Oh, yeah, the legend of Santa Claus. It can be traced all the way back to St. Nicholas. He was a 4th century bishop known for his generosity and his compassion. He would secretly leave gifts for people in need. And then over time, well, that story gradually became the Santa Claus that we all know and love today.
It's just incredible how these historical figures and stories continue to shape our modern-day customs. I mean, even something like hanging stockings here in the U.S., it comes from tales of St. Nicholas leaving coins in the shoes of the poor.
And St. Nicholas's influence, it goes way beyond just Santa Claus, too. In the Netherlands, for instance, they celebrate Sinterklaas on December 6th. It's this big celebration with parades and gift giving, a clear kind of connection back to the historical St. Nicholas.
So we've got this foundation of, some shared traditions and figures. But then, well, things get really interesting when we start looking at how different countries really put their own spin on things, their own unique spin on Christmas celebrations.
You're absolutely right. And that's really where this blog post takes off. It takes us on this global tour of some really unexpected and honestly just fascinating customs.
So ready to kick off our Christmas journey around the world? Let's start with Japan, where, believe it or not, a bucket of KFC has become a staple of their Christmas dinner.
I know, it sounds kind of strange, right? But it's actually a really interesting cultural phenomenon. It all started back in the 1970s with this really successful marketing campaign. They tapped into this idea of fried chicken for Christmas, which was, totally new and different. And now families in Japan, they actually place orders weeks in advance just to make sure they get their festive KFC.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's amazing how something that started as just, a marketing tactic could become such a deeply ingrained tradition.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder about the power of branding or maybe even the global influence of, I guess you could say, American fast food.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. And that's kind of a theme we're going to see throughout this whole journey, that blend of different cultural influences and unique local customs.
Well, we're talking about unique. How about this?
Huh.
In Caracas, Venezuela, they close down the streets on Christmas morning so people can roller skate to church.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine that? Families just gliding through the city on roller skates, heading to Christmas services. It really does add this sense of energy and festivity to the whole thing.
I'm just trying to picture it. The streets are just full of people on roller skates. The music's playing. Everyone's laughing and singing carols. Sounds like a really fun way to start Christmas Day.
And it doesn't end there either. After church, the festivities keep going. They've got music, dancing, all sorts of holiday cheer.
Man, that sounds incredible. It's a good reminder that Christmas celebrations are often about so much more than just the religious aspect. It's about community. It's about spending time together and creating these joyful experiences.
Exactly. And each culture kind of has its own unique way of expressing those values. And speaking of unique expressions, let's move on to the Philippines. They have this amazing giant lantern festival in San Fernando.
Oh yeah, this is way more than just stringing up some Christmas lights. The blog describes these lanterns as being massive, super intricate works of art, each one meant to symbolize the Star of Bethlehem.
Oh yeah, they're truly spectacular. They light up the whole night sky. You've got all these vibrant colors and intricate designs. It draws huge crowds, and it really shows off the the community spirit and the artistic talent of the region.
It's interesting how light plays such a big role in Christmas celebrations across so many different cultures. In the Philippines, you've got this dazzling display of these giant lanterns. But then in Finland, they have a totally different tradition, but it also involves light.
Yeah, you're right. It's a really beautiful contrast. In Finland, they start Christmas Eve with a sauna. It's this purifying ritual, a time to cleanse yourself before the festivities begin. And then they do this really moving custom where families go to cemeteries to light candles on the graves of loved ones.
Wow. That's just such a peaceful and poignant way to honor the people who are no longer with us. It's like connecting the past with the present, during this special time of year.
It is. It's a really nice tradition. It reminds us that Christmas can also be a time for reflection and remembrance, a time to honor the memory of the people we love.
Yeah, and while some traditions are about, quiet reflection, others are all about, well, just big, joyous celebrations. Take Mexico's Las Posadas, for example.
Oh yeah, Las Posadas. The blog described it as this like 9-day celebration. It's like a reenactment of Mary and Joseph's journey to Bethlehem.
Exactly. Every single night they have these processions. People are carrying candles and singing carols, and they go from house to house. It's meant to symbolize Mary and Joseph searching for a place to stay.
It sounds incredible, so vibrant and lively. And I love that at the end they have a piñata party.
Of course. What would a Mexican celebration be without a piñata, right? But it's not all just fun and games, though. The piñata, which is filled with all those treats, it's actually a symbol. It symbolizes good overcoming evil, so it adds this whole other layer of meaning to the celebration. It's fascinating how so many of these traditions combine symbolism and storytelling with, just plain old fun. They create such rich cultural experiences.
I agree. And speaking of unique ways to celebrate, did you know that in Ethiopia, they actually celebrate Christmas, or Jenna as they call it, on January 7th?
Really? I had no idea. Why the different date?
It's because the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still follows the Julian calendar. But even though the date is different, the heart of the celebration, it's the same. They celebrate with prayers and feasts and traditional games, just like in many other parts of the world.
So even with a different date, they still embrace those same core values of togetherness and celebration.
Exactly. And then a few days later, they have another celebration called Timkat. It's to honor Jesus's baptism. It's this really amazing event with these huge processions, and they do these symbolic blessings with water.
It's incredible how often water shows up in celebrations across different cultures and religions. It's such a powerful symbol of purification and renewal.
It really is. It speaks to this, universal human need, this need for cleansing, for new beginnings, for hope.
Totally. Okay, well, from the spiritual to the, I guess you could say, more adventurous, our next stop takes us to Greenland. And get this, they have some pretty unusual Christmas delicacies.
You ready for this? We're talking namatek, which is whale skin and blubber, and then there's kiviak, which is fermented birds. Not exactly your average Christmas dinner.
Wow, that's definitely different. But I guess in a place like Greenland where resources can be limited, it makes sense. These traditions really show their deep respect for nature and how resourceful they are, using everything they have available to them.
That's a good point. It really highlights how much the environment and a culture's history can shape even the most festive occasions. It really makes you question, what you think of as a Christmas meal.
It does. And speaking of challenging our expectations, let's wrap things up by heading down under to Australia, because down there, Christmas falls right smack in the middle of summer.
That's right. Just imagine Christmas with sunshine and beaches, barbecues, maybe even Santa Claus on a surfboard. It's a total 180 from those snowy Christmas scenes we usually think of.
It really is. But it just goes to show you that the joy and the spirit of Christmas, well, they can be celebrated anywhere, no matter the weather.
Exactly. It really emphasizes that there's no single right way to celebrate. What really matters are the values that are at the heart of the holiday. Things like love, generosity, and connection.
This global tour has been really eye-opening. It's amazing to see how a holiday that's celebrated by billions of people can take on so many different forms. And every single one of them reflects something beautiful and unique about different cultures.
I agree. It's like a kaleidoscope. Each little piece reflects a different part of the human experience, but they're all connected by that underlying spirit of the season.
I love that analogy. It perfectly captures the richness and diversity that we've been exploring in this deep dive.
It's true. It's amazing to think about how, even though these traditions might seem totally different at first glance, they all come from that same universal human desire. That desire for connection, for joy, for hope, those things we all feel so strongly around this time of year.
It's a great reminder that even though we have differences, there's still a shared humanity that brings us all together. Maybe that's the most powerful message of Christmas.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you really appreciate all our differences, doesn't it? We've gone from like roller skating to church in Venezuela to eating buckets of KFC in Japan. It's incredible.
And let's not forget about those giant lanterns in the Philippines or
Yeah.
that tradition in Finland, the candles in the cemeteries. It's just amazing how each tradition, each one brings something unique to the whole, global celebration of Christmas.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that Christmas isn't about following one specific set of rules. It's about embracing the spirit of the season. And that can look different for everyone. So true. And that's really one of the big takeaways from that blog post we were talking about. It doesn't matter exactly how you celebrate. Christmas is about those big ideas.
Mhm.
Love, generosity, being together.
And hey, speaking of the blog post, for anyone listening who wants to learn more about all these amazing traditions, we've got you covered. There's a link to the blog post in the description of this deep dive.
Hmm.
Definitely worth checking out.
Oh, and we want to hear from you too. What really stood out to you from, all the Christmas traditions we talked about? Anything surprise you? And what about you? Do you have any special Christmas traditions in your family or in your culture?
Yeah, leave us a comment. Tell us how you celebrate Christmas. We always love hearing from you guys.
And if you enjoyed this, I guess you could say festive deep dive into Christmas traditions, well, hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss any future episodes. We're going to be exploring all sorts of fascinating
We've
topics.
got some really cool deep dives planned for the new year, so yeah, definitely stay tuned.
But before we go, we wanted to leave you with one last thing to think about, as you keep celebrating.
Ooh, I like it. A little something to ponder.
So think about the traditions that mean the most to you, whether they come from your family or your culture or maybe just, your own personal beliefs. What makes them special to you? What stories do they tell? And how do they connect you to something bigger?
That's a great question. Think about it. What are the things that really make up your Christmas experience?
Yeah, take a moment to really appreciate how rich and beautiful those traditions are. Savor those moments of connection, of joy. And let's all try to carry that Christmas spirit with us all year round, not just during the holidays.
You got it. From all of us here at the Deep Dive, we wish you a very Merry Christmas. We hope it's full of love, laughter, and lots of great memories.
And we can't wait to dive into more fascinating topics with you in the new year.